In this episode, we talk about the findings of a high-powered committee in relation to the Government of India's Great Nicobar Development Project. We also talk about the Supreme Court's verdict on the Enforcement Directorate's plea challenging the bail granted to Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren. But first we talk about India's very first medal at the Paris Olympics, won by 22-year-old Indian shooter Manu Bhaker. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. On 28th July, Manu Bhaker became the first woman shooter from India to win an Olympics medal after claiming a bronze medal in the women's 10-meter air pistol event at the Paris Olympics. She brought in India's very first medal at the Paris Olympics. The 22-year-old claimed a bronze medal behind two South Korean shooters. The 9-time World Cup medalist is only the 5th Indian to win a medal in shooting. Manu talked about her feelings after winning the medal and wished that India wins many more.
The feeling is surreal. I feel so good. I feel really happy that I could win this medal for all of us. And this is coming home after so long, so many years it's been for shooting, in the winning a medal, podium finish and all. So I'm so happy that it's coming home with me, and maybe many more will come in the following days, maybe in shooting or other sports, but many more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated the 22-year-old Olympic medalist and expressed his elation on receiving the news of her win.
Manu, namaste, खूब अभिनंदन आपको, बहुत बधाई.
बहुत शुक्रिया सर. आप कैसे हैं?
मैं बहुत बढ़िया से. आप तो ये तुम्हारी सफलता का खबर सुनने के बाद और उत्साह और आनंद में हूँ.
जी.
Bhaker became the first woman shooter from India to reach an Olympic final in an individual event in the last 20 years. The last time an Indian woman shooter had reached the final, it was Suma Shirur who had blazed a trial into the final of the 10-meter air rifle event at the Athens Olympics held in Greece's capital in 2004. To get detailed insights into her performance and how her family's support contributed to her win, we have Indian Express's Nitin Sharma joining us. Nitin, can you begin by sharing with us the nuances of Manu's win and who was she up against?
Well, the first nuance, of course, has to be what happened in Tokyo. So how she was making a comeback. So that, of course, the pressure or the motivation was there for her. And she had got a good score in qualification. She qualified at the 3rd place, but with the most number of higher inner tens out of the field. So obviously she was going into the final with a confidence, and with 2 Korean shooters and 2 Chinese shooters in the final. So it was a very tough battle in the final. But she took advantage of the first 2 series of 5 shots each. Like she was second after the first 5 shots, and she maintained her second position after the second series also. But with the Koreans, Kim Ye-ji and Oh Ye-jin shooting very well, it was up to her to maintain the top 3 spot while the elimination started. With the Koreans also, like she rose to second spot once, and on the bronze medal elimination series, like she only missed out the silver by 0.1 to like Kim Ye-ji. But it was some fantastic shooting by Manu amid the quality field, amid the Koreans. So, and a historic women's shooting medal for India in Olympics. So that will obviously put a lot of impetus to women shooters, especially in Haryana too.
And tell us a bit about Manu Bhaker and her passion for shooting.
She grew up in a very small village, Goria, in Jajjar district. So her family owned a school, Universal Senior Secondary School, and her mother is a Sanskrit postgraduate, and her father is a merchant navy officer. So at the school they run many sports like boxing, volleyball, a Manipuri martial arts, Thang Ta, swimming, tennis. So obviously she was into many sports, boxing, Thang Ta, tennis, skating, horse riding, and she went on to nationals many times in the junior circuit in these sports. So it was during a boxing match she suffered an eye injury, and her mother decided not to let her continue boxing. And then there was this shooting academy by coaches Anil Dakhar and Naresh at the school. But her mother wanted her to be a doctor. So the coach, he shared a video with me of the morning assembly where he like vowed to make Manu a world-class shooter and perhaps a Olympic medalist, and he was addressing the gathering at the school. So she took up shooting on the day of April 28th, 2016, and within 1 or 2 years she would win medals in the Junior World Cups, Junior World Championships, and then the Commonwealth Games happened, the Asian Games happened in 2018. So it was a very quick initiation into shooting at the international stage for Manu. You know, she dabbled in various sports and she was very good in her reflexes, as her father told me. It made her a natural shooter at a very young age, and obviously the medals in Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, and other big competitions obviously put a limelight on her, and she thrived out of that competition.
We understand that Manu could not score a medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Tell us what happened there.
Going into Tokyo, like Commonwealth titles, junior titles, World Cup titles under her belt, Manu was considered one of the favorites in 10-meter air pistol. So at the Osaka shooting range, in the qualification, she made a good start. She shot her first series of 98. But during the second series, the sixth shot of the second series, like she suffered a malfunction in her pistol, which I guess spoiled more than 6 minutes for her. And like there was a problem in the cocking lever of her gun, and it took some time for the coaches and all to adjust that. She was placed fourth when this happened, and by this time, like she resumed, others were shooting the fourth series while she was still on her second series, and no extra time was allowed to her. So the pressure was there, and she posted a series of 94, 95, 98 in the next 3 shot 10 series, but the last shot of her round, she hit an 8, which was just 2 short of the required qualification score. If she would have scored 10, she would have been tied with Céline Gauberville of France and Alina Kostovich of Ukraine, but would have gone through the final with a higher number of 10s. So obviously there was like a lot of spotlight on her, media bashing or fans bashing her on social media. So like the way she suffered the humiliation in Tokyo, so that was a big setback. Like she didn't start training. She went for a vacation in Kerala, like our colleague Mihi reported. Like then she started training only after 23-24 days, and there were times when she thought of even quitting shooting.
Right, and the Paris Olympics definitely gave her an opportunity to redeem herself.
Yeah.
And Nitin, we understand that Manu's coaches had a shooting academy where they specifically trained girls, and that her family has also always been very supportive of her. So tell us, what did her parents and her coaches have to say about her win?
Yeah, like firstly, like her mother told me, like the day Manu was born, like her mother had her B.Ed exams. Manu was born at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she went to the exam at 10 o'clock, leaving Manu with her elder sister. And her mother said, like, we have, raised up Manu in a way that she has to be her own. That's a big statement coming from a Haryanavi family. Her grandparents, maternal and paternal also, as I talked with them, they have also supported, Manu in her journey. And so they were like more than 50 girls were trained for shooting under coaches Anil Jakhar. Obviously, her medals in the Junior World Cups, Commonwealth Games and other championships, acted and still act as a motivation to the village girls. And I guess the Paris Olympic medal will act as the biggest motivation to the girls in her village as well as in Haryana and the whole country. And her father told me, like, he never hesitated. Like, the first pistol he got for her was from Chandigarh, costing more than rupees 1,80,000. And any sport, like be it boxing or any other sport, her father, used to bring the new equipment whenever he used to be abroad at his ship and while coming back. So she had the support all the way from her family in the village to her parents. Her uncle shared with me, like maybe after this medal, they have been urging the Haryana government to open a shooting academy or a fully automatic range at their village. Perhaps I guess this Olympics medal will force the Haryana government to do so that more and more kids take up shooting, or even kids from the nearby villages, they come to train at that academy, or there should be more academies, such academies in the village.
तैयारी तो बहुत ज्यादा थी, 10-10 घंटे 12-12 घंटे खड़ी होके, वो घर में न रह के, उसका जो घर था वो एक शूटिंग रेंज था। मनु का पहला घर शूटिंग रेंज। बाद में सोने के लिए इस मेरे पास आती थी वो, और हम भी क्या करते थे, दोपहर को खाना लेके मनु के साथ शूटिंग रेंज पे जाते थे हम। तो शाम को जब वो वापस आती थी तब हम उसके साथ आते थे। हाँ जी।
We heard Manu's mother talk about her dedication towards shooting. And Nitin, you write that according to her family, Bhagavad Gita played a very major role in her win. Tell us, what did they have to say about that?
As her parents told me, they used to recite Bhagavad Gita to a young Manu, but it was mainly after the Tokyo debacle, they would recite the shlokas from Bhagavad Gita, and Manu would take a keen interest in the shlokas or the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And most of the shlokas, like one of our favorite shlokas was, one who remains unattached under all conditions and is neither delighted by good fortune nor rejected by tribulation, he is a sage with perfect knowledge. So like ideas and thoughts like these, they helped her shape her mind, get a clarity in her mind after what happened in Tokyo. And her mother would also get her a spiritual teacher who would share the meanings of Gita shlokas with Manu. So in a way it helped her calm her mind, and also to redefine the goal of her life in a better way, to forget the Tokyo debacle and to make a fresh start for Paris, trying new things. Like she also learned to play violin, which was gifted to her by her elder brother. So it gave a clarity to her mind, and it helped her building that mental strength.
And Nitin, if we talk about the current situation in the Paris Olympics, where does India stand right now and how do we see it proceeding?
India has only one medal still, till date, and we have a couple of misses in the rifle events, in the mixed rifle events, even in the pistol where Sarabjot missed the final. He was tied with a German who was 8th, but he finished 9th based on lesser in attempts. But shooting events are coming up. 2 of the Indian shooters are in the finals today, rifle shooters, and then the rapid fire events will start, skeet and trap events will start, and also 50-meter 3P events will start. And with wrestling and boxing events also coming up, and today the archery men's team will compete, and athletics also, a lot of spotlight will be on Neeraj Chopra also. So if shooting, we do well in shooting, boxing, wrestling, we can cross even 10 Olympic medals, our highest tally, I must say. And of course the coming days will be exciting for the Indian contingent.
And next we talk about the Great Nicobar Development Project. The Government of India has introduced the Great Nicobar Development Project, a 72,000 crore infrastructure upgrade in the Great Nicobar. The project was conceived by the Niti Aayog, and the plan includes construction of an international container transshipment terminal, an airport and a township along with other facilities. This project aims to provide India with a strategic advantage but has raised concerns among civil society groups and conservationists. A high-powered committee, or an HPC, was appointed by the National Green Tribunal for revisiting the green clearance for the project. To understand more about the project, its ecological impact and what the HPC concluded regarding the same, we have Indian Express's Nikhil Ghanekar joining us. Nikhil, can you begin by telling us what is the Great Nicobar Development Project?
So to begin with, regarding the infrastructure project, this is a project that was conceived by the government's think tank Niti Aayog around 3-4 years back. And the idea here is to build infrastructure which includes a port, an airport, a township, and create an economic zone of a kind which will rival that of Singapore or Hong Kong. That, in short, is what the government is aiming to do here. The reason for this is that, the geopolitical location of Nicobar Islands, according to the government, is an important from the strategic and defense point of view and economic point of view, where it is close to the Malacca Strait, and it's also close to Southeast Asia. A lot of shipping lanes are close to this geographical area, and they want to capitalize on the location. And one of the main things, as we mentioned earlier, was a transshipment port. So they want to tap into this and use it further in the economic interests of the country.
And if we talk about the ICRZ 1A, what is it exactly, and what kind of activities are allowed and prohibited in these areas?
So the Island Coastal Regulation Zone was basically brought in 2019, the latest version, which superseded the last version, which was brought in 2011. And now the mandate or the essential reason for this notification was to protect sensitive areas around the island areas, to protect marine life, to protect the ecologically vulnerable areas. And usually in coastal regulation zone areas, there are classifications for regulating development. So one such classification is RZ1A, which essentially demarcates the ecologically sensitive areas such as mangroves, coral reefs, sand dunes, biologically active mud flats, marine parks, salt marshes, sea grass beds, seaweeds, nesting grounds of birds, and areas of archaeological importance. This notification also talks about what is allowed in this ICRZ1A and what is prohibited. So, for example, destruction of corals is prohibited, mining of sand from in and around coral areas is prohibited, any kind of harm to the nesting areas of turtles and birds is prohibited. What is allowed is very minimal in nature, such as ecotourism activities for mangrove walks, tree huts, nature trails, roads, which are necessary for strategic purposes, are allowed after due permissions.
So, Nikhil, we understand that this development project has been facing certain legal challenges, which have led to the formation of a high-powered committee. So, talk to us about that.
To go a little bit into the background of this high-powered committee, this emanated from a legal challenge to this whole project, and specifically regarding the environmental clearance and the forest clearance, which was granted by the country's environment ministry in the year 2022. This challenge was being heard initially by the Kolkata bench, and then a special bench of the National Green Tribunal was constituted to look into this whole issue. In the final order that was passed in the challenge against this project, what the National Green Tribunal said was that while we don't see any need to interfere in the forest clearance of the project, there were some unanswered deficiencies that they wanted a committee of experts to revisit. Now, what were these issues? These were concerning the translocation of corals and coral colonies, which are found in the marine areas there. Secondly, they wanted the committee to look into the issue of whether the port area, which was the marquee component of this project, falls in an area which is ecologically sensitive. And as per the Island Coastal Regulation Zone, which is known as ICRZ, ports are not allowed in this ecologically sensitive areas. So that is the point number 2 that the panel was asked, the high-powered committee was asked to look into. And lastly, they were also asked to look into whether the baseline data that is collected, essentially the data on water or soil and other environmental aspects, which is collected to then look into the environmental impacts of large infrastructure projects, whether that one season data was enough to carry out an environmental impact assessment. This committee was given a couple of months to look into this project to revisit the environmental clearance, and the tribunal also ordered that till the committee gave its report, no work more than what had already happened on the project should be allowed. So that was the background.
Right. And can you tell us who filed a petition against the project?
So the current petition that in which ANIDCO has filed an affidavit has been filed by environmental activist Ashish Kothari, who was a long-standing as an environmental activist, and his work is well known in the organization Kalpavriksha, which is Pune-based. There, like I had mentioned earlier, one of the pleas was that this project was not complying with the norms, the rules that are laid down in the Island Coastal Regulation Zone 2019 notification. Now, what is important to note here is that the parts of the project which are planned near Galathea Bay in the southern part of Nicobar, they were brought under the prohibited zone for prohibited for any activity because there are nesting sites of leatherback turtles, there are nesting sites of the Nicobar megapod bird. It's an ecologically sensitive area.
And so, Nikhil, what were the findings of the high-powered committee?
Again, a little bit of context for our listeners that all the recommendations and conclusions of the high-powered committee are not out in public yet. The story that Indian Express reported on was based on an affidavit that was filed by the Andaman and Nicobar government's Integrated Development Corporation. It's a government undertaking which looks at infrastructure development in the Union territory. Now, this affidavit was filed in a separate NGT case that is being heard by the Kolkata bench. This case has two major grounds. One is that the project continues to violate the Island Coastal Regulation Zone notification. And secondly, they wanted the details of what the HPC had concluded to be made known because the petitioners had filed RTIs, they had tried to find out from other means what exactly has the HPC said, but they were unsuccessful. So it was in this context that ANIDCO, the Integrated Development Corporation, filed a counter affidavit in which the high-powered committee's recommendations and conclusions were made public for the first time. So the most important conclusion that from the context of the project's continuation is that they found that the port area was not in the prohibited zone. And curiously, this was very much in contradiction to what the Andaman and Nicobar Coastal Management Authority had submitted to the Environment Ministry during the clearance process. They had submitted that around 7 kilometers of the port area, the airport area, and the township area that is planned under the project falls in the prohibited zone. Secondly, as far as the corals are concerned, the HPC concluded that 4,518 corals that were supposed to be protected. The other corals, it's already been decided that they will be protected, but the issue of 4,518 corals and colonies was not resolved. So they said that we will have to keep an observation of these corals under observation so that there is no sedimentation load. And thirdly, as far as the baseline data issue is concerned, they again gave a clean chit to that issue and said that the data is enough and they don't need more than one season's data to carry out the environment impact assessment.
And in the end, we talk about the Supreme Court's decision on Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren's bail. The Supreme Court yesterday rejected the Enforcement Directorate's plea challenging the bail granted to Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren in the money laundering case related to an alleged land scam in Ranchi. A bench of Justices B.R. Gavai and K.V. Viswanathan termed the June 28 judgment of the Jharkhand High Court, which granted him an interim bail, a very well-reasoned order and refused to interfere with it. Additional Solicitor General S.V. Raju, appearing for the central agency, said that the High Court ought not to have disregarded the statements recorded by it. But Justice Gavai said that the High Court had given reasons why they are disregarded. Soren was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate on 31st January in a money laundering case linked to the alleged land scam. The Jharkhand Chief Minister has denied all allegations against him. Yesterday, Raju sought to argue that there is corroborating evidence against Soren, but Justice Gavai said, quote, "There is a specific finding that in all records seized from Bhanu Pratap, there is nothing implicating applicant, that is Soren." Unquote. Bhanu Pratap Prasad, a land revenue inspector, was arrested in connection with the case in 2023. Prasad was allegedly a part of a land grab syndicate which falsified original land records. The police recovered several original land records from Prasad after they arrested him, and his phone allegedly contained an image of an 8.63-acre land parcel which was reportedly in Soren's illegal possession. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.